Coming up in this episode, Apple versus the EU, Kaspersky Software banned in the US, McDonald's abandons AI in favor of human drive-thru workers, and in our newly revamped Null Not Null recommendation section, we'll wrap things up.
Welcome to the Not Null Podcast. I'm just an AI voice, but here are your real hosts, Kevin Doyle, Sarah Kimmel, and Bobby Davis.
Welcome to the Not Null Podcast. I'm Kevin Doyle, and this week I'm joined by Bobby Davis and Sarah Kimmel. Make sure to stick around until the end for our AI-generated weekly-themed outro song created by the freshly sued Suno AI. This week, the EU opened investigations into Apple, Google, and Meta based on their non-compliance with the Digital Markets Act. So remember we talked about the Digital Markets Act last year. It was actually last September we talked about it. This has since gone into effect. March of this year, the DMA went into effect in the EU. So remember, this is the thing that targets big tech companies, or the gatekeepers as they call them so lovingly, companies that provide core platform services. So this was basically 6 major brands, 22 core platforms, things like Windows, Mac OS, iOS, Android, any big tech thing you can think of was grouped into this thing. And it's based on also then user count and revenue. So big things used a lot kind of got grouped onto this thing in the EU. And the intention here is that they're trying to stop big tech companies from cornering digital markets. They basically say they're trying to stop monopolistic behavior. So the EU has said that they've given these companies enough time to comply, but they now feel they need to be investigated for non-compliance. And specifically, the big contention with the Apple deal was that they were trying to, under the DMA's provisions, they needed app developers to be able to, or be allowed to, inform customers of cheaper purchasing options and direct them to those options. So this is a thing we've talked about a lot, where it's like, you've got to buy it through the App Store, you've got to buy this thing subscription. So they're like, we need application developers to be able to point you outside of that. Sort of the what was the gaming one that we had? The Fallout issue. It was like, they wanted to buy it in
Epic Games.
Fortnite. Epic Games. Yeah, Fortnite, that was it. Yeah. So again, the fine for this, if you remember the fine for this? 10% of global revenue.
Right.
That is 10% of global revenue is what they want to leverage against Apple for violating what they're now saying is their rules. So this is in addition already to the EU already looking at Apple and already trying to leverage this exact same fine for not being able to switch browser or switch search provider. So they're trying to hit them on like multiple levels now. So what did Apple do? It seems like they kind of like proactively, I think, saw this coming, because 2 days before they announced this, Apple said, well, you know what? We're actually not going to roll out this new Apple Intelligence thing that we have just talked about at WWDC in the EU. We're also not going to roll out some features, the iPhone mirroring or the SharePlay features. Explicitly, and they called this out because of DMA regulations. They said, specifically, we are concerned that the interoperability requirements of the DMA could force us to compromise the integrity of our products in ways that risk user privacy and data security. So they're basically saying, you're not going to get it because of these DMA rules. And maybe we'll roll them out at some point. They've said maybe we'll put them out in 2025. But clearly, Apple's saying, we're not going to put these out in the EU because we don't think we can abide by these rules, and we don't want to risk 10% of our global revenue. So, what do you think about this? Do you think Google and Meta will take similar steps with this? Do you think they'll pull back on some of their things in the EU, or quit rolling things out in the EU? Is this a slippery slope for EU?
100% it's a slippery slope.
Not a leading question.
I said this last year,
right.
Which I'm glad to see that they're doing it. And I don't think I'm the smartest guy on the planet. I think if you're running a company and someone says, hey, we're going to take 10% of your global revenue, they're going to try to take it. It's also adversely targets American companies. And I think the U.S. government should step in and go, this has got to stop. Or Tim Cook and Mark Zuckerberg and all these guys happen to be at the restaurant at the same time and happen to sit at the same table at the same time and go, do you guys really want to be in the EU? Is that something we want to do?
In the room where it happens.
And while they could vacation in Barbados, you may not be able to use an iPhone there. And I think this is a good move because I think the governments are overreaching this at this point where they're going to say, well, if it's 10% of global revenue and they agree to that, then the next fine, what is that? Does it go up to 25%? Does it go to 110% of global revenue? Like what?
I just think they keep just finding reasons to give them 10%.
Yeah.
Like, is it like once and you're done?
No.
Is that it? Or no, they're just going to keep going after it.
And so like we said before, they said that if they agreed to this, we would be friends. They basically said that we won't come after you if you're friends. And I said the whole time, like, they're coming again. Like they're lying. And they were. And I think Apple's had enough. And they're just like, okay, I guess they don't want iPhones in there. And so if Facebook, Google, Microsoft, and Apple all pulled out of the EU, I think they would say you have to be in the EU at that point, or we're going to sue you.
Can you imagine?
Right.
Like, we're going to sue you because you don't do business here and abide by our rules.
Right.
Because they would have to, right? Because it has to be. It's basically those services and these core things we're talking about are literal infrastructure things. They would come to a standstill if they couldn't use Excel.
Right.
Right. Like if Microsoft pulled out and says we're not going to support Excel in the country anymore, like it would stop the EU. I think they have to. I think Apple are the first one just kind of like calling their bluff on this almost, just to say like, you know what, we just won't roll this stuff out then. What do you think about that?
Okay. Yeah. Go use your Google phone. And then Google's going to say the same thing. 10% global revenue?
Right.
I don't think so, bro.
Yeah.
Like that's really, I don't think that's happening. Go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, it's like blackmail. Okay, just pay me like $600 and I'm going to forget this information that I have and I'll never come ask you for more money. That's never, ever, ever going to be the situation. No. They're going to come back and they're going to come back and they're going to come back and you're going to be paying them for the rest of your life. So like when you give in an inch, they're going to take a mile. And
I think they have to take a stand, don't they?
They do.
I think they have to take a stand against this. We said this last year. I explicitly said it's going to take one of these companies to like pick up their ball and walk home with it and say like, I'm not playing anymore. Like, and that's what it's going to take. And I think then the others will probably follow suit. I think this is Apple's first kind of like dipping the toe in that water by saying, well, we just won't release this feature. Like all this AI stuff and this like iPhone mirroring and this basically the iPhone mirroring and the screen sharing part is because they know that it works iPhone to Mac only. Yeah. So therefore what's going to happen is somebody in EU is going to say, doesn't work on an Android. You can't have that feature. That's against, I think, give us 10%. It's like, that makes no sense.
We can't make it work on the Android.
It's the dumbest thing ever. It's so dumb. Right. It's just stupid. So I guess they're just going to choose not to roll out. What are we going to get? Like real, the EU version of Mac OS going forward? It's going to be Mac OS EU? Mm-hmm. Like there's going to be some horrible cut down 100%. Version with no features? Is that what we're going to get?
Do you think there's a scenario where Apple goes back and says, if you want the iPhone, it costs you this much EU?
To who? Like
they
to
call the government
consumer?
And say, if you want us in your market,
you
got to pay us 10% of global tax revenue.
I think, well, I do. Well, I wouldn't think that was, I think the EU's overestimating their power in this argument. Yeah. They are definitely overestimating. They think they have the upper hand here when I don't think they do. I think they're not realizing like, no, they don't have to be there. Yeah. They have literally the rest of the world. I get that it's one of the big 3 or 4 markets. I understand that, but that means there are 3 or 4 more. And all it takes is them to pick on Apple and then they start on Meta and then on Google. And then, I mean, imagine for phones, if they picked on both Apple and Google, what's the EU going to have?
So Google could fight and go, we're not licensing the OS to any manufacturer that sells in the EU. There would be no phones in the EU if they did that.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless they went to BlackBerry, I'm sure they would say, yeah, we would love to make some phones.
Nokia is sat on the sidelines now just like,
we got your back.
Please.
We got your back.
We'll bring that keyboard back right now.
And it's kind of, I think we were talking about this last year with the whole Canada like thing where Facebook was just like, fine, forget it. You know, we're not doing that. We're not paying you because like basically ad revenue for your website.
Right. Like, I would like to see the United States government sue a European company over similar rules. And like I said last year, sue them and say, hey, man, that OS in the car has to be interoperable with Mercedes, BMW. And I want 10% of global revenue if you can't do that.
Yeah, and think about that, what you just said. It sounds ridiculous. Doesn't it? It's absolutely foolish, but it's the same thing. It is the same thing on the other way. It's the dumbest thing ever. You can't force this. You can't force this by these ridiculous fines because they'll just say, no.
10%. That is so much money.
Global revenue. Yeah. So revenue that you don't even get to participate in, you know, like.
Well, this is the thing, right? When you think about, you don't have to have much of a percent of literally the biggest companies in the world, do you? For it to be in the billions. Right. You really don't.
Yeah.
And we're talking about picking on the top companies in the world, like to try and get, it's just, it's a tax in disguise. Because I guarantee you, EU consumers are like, please don't make Apple not give us Apple Intelligence. They're like, we want that. We need those features. We want those features. Don't make Meta pull out their features in our region, because that's what's going to happen. They are going to pull features away, and then the consumer's going to be like, EU, what are you doing? So they're going to get pushback from both angles, both from consumers and from the tech companies they're trying to leverage this against. They're going to get stuck in the middle here and kind of shoot themselves in the foot, I think.
Yeah. So my question is, what phones are the people who are making these decisions actually using?
You mean Ursula, the head of the EU? Ursula?
Right.
She's rocking an iPhone. You know she is. And Tim Scott isn't as vindictive as I would be. I would be highly upset. It's like, if that woman has an iPhone, cut it off right now. Like, turn it off.
Right. Shut it down.
Shut it down. So just tell her it broke. We don't know what happened. I don't know.
Sorry, you have Apple Care? I don't
know what
happened.
Sorry. I don't know.
Go buy an Android. I don't know.
That's funny. And then Google's doing the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
But I think this is what it's going to take. It's going to take them all kind of banding together, I think, which has never happened before. But I think we're going to kind of have that, I think, for this to go away. Otherwise, EU users are going to be like out in the cold.
And I'm going to say I disagree that it's never happened before, because all of these tech companies are currently fighting all of these individual state legislations as part of a conglomerate called NetSpark, I believe. So they are banded together like to fight legislation already, just right here in the United States, because, you know, people like Utah decide to make really stupid laws that that have no technological soundness to them.
And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take them to do something like that and make what are really difficult decisions that are going to cost them a lot of money.
Yeah.
But you have to stand on it, I think. I think it's going to cost them money either way. They just have to make the decision: do we spend the money and get fined and then not know what's going to happen with that, or do we spend them or lose the money in another way and say we make a stand on this? Yeah. I think they have to make a stand. I think we're going to see an interesting year coming up as we see. I think more of these come in. I think this is just the 100%. Start.
Yeah.
I think every feature they roll out from here on in, they're going to have to consider, is that EU compliant or not? And when it's not, they're just going to say, well, we're just not going to bother. Yeah. And we're going to see it from the others. I think we have to see it from Meta and Google too, for it to really start to take effect. But we'll see. We'll see over the next 12 months.
And they're all American companies. The U.S. should step in and go, you can't tax them that way. They've got to do it. Like, and just tell them that's just wrong, you know? Because they're not doing it to the European.
But don't forget, the DOG is also going after them. Yeah, so we're doing kind of the same thing. Like,
we're allowed to spank our own kids, though.
So speaking of government getting involved where it should not be, Biden apparently is banning US sales of the antivirus software called Kaspersky. And this is not just like any run-of-the-mill antivirus. It's one of the most popular antivirus programs out there right now. And so the article is talking about has plans to ban the sale of the antivirus software made by Russia's Kaspersky Labs in the United States, saying it poses a significant security risk. My couple questions from like a technological standpoint is, first, how do they plan on doing that? Like, I can buy software from other countries. Like, am I going to be banned from going to the site? Is the site not going to be available in the United States for purchase? Like, how do you ban that kind of purchase? Like, I can see banning, like, although I'm against it, TikTok, say, from the Google Play Store, or from the Apple App Store, because you have control over that. But like, how do you ban the sale of software that's like available online? Like, I just don't see how that works. But I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just like a technological
I would
idiot,
imagine that if this is a U.S. legitimate ban, then Microsoft and Apple have to not allow it to be installed.
Oh, you think you could put it at an OS level?
They
that says you
they
can't
could
install
find
this?
people that said if they're going to make it a ban and it's a security risk, like they're saying, they could they could find Microsoft and say, you don't put this on a machine. So it could SERP up credentials that gets to Azure to whatever, So like if it's truly this like theoretical threat to humanity or the U.S. way of life, truth and justice in the American way, then they have to ban it everywhere.
Yeah.
And then they have to make sure the OS people don't install it. If we're going to have banned list of apps.
Yeah, I wonder if they could also do something with like IPs or something too, though, because it obviously, so it's an antivirus, right? So it must need to be updated a lot, right?
Sure.
So I'm guessing if you if you made the product so bad that you had to somehow like run a VPN to update it or whatever, that would kind of suck. So I guess you just make it, maybe it's banned through inconvenience.
Through inconvenience. I could see that. Yeah, for sure.
Government institutions won't buy it. There'll be no government institutions.
For sure.
If you're somehow attached to the federal government, you're running any kind of like financial transactions, they can write FINRA laws to keep people from doing it. So no banks, nobody else could do it. So only Sarah, Kevin, and me can install Kaspersky in the whole United States.
So maybe it's a soft
Sounds
ban.
great.
It's a soft ban on Kaspersky.
Yeah, and like from truth, justice, and the American way point of view, like sure, if you're so concerned about it, and this is the same kind of thing I have with beef I have about banning TikTok, is if you're so concerned about like the security of it, sure, you can ban it on computers that you have control over. You can't install it if you have a government job. You can't install it in any government buildings or schools or things like that, like where people have like security clearance and things like that. But for a blanket ban for all of the people in the United States, I think that is such overkill for what you perceive is a security threat. Like, I just don't see the security threat from normal everyday people. And I don't use Kaspersky, so I don't have a dog in this fight. But I do use ESET, and ESET is also not a US based company. And so like, where do they draw the line here? Like, right. They're just going to keep going until like there's no like free enterprise anywhere. It's all just like we've all become like communist states.
Like I said when we did the TikTok last year, I said this is not going to stop. They're going to ban anything they can control, anything that's foreign owned, and it said foreign owned entities. And it'll go worse. They'll try to find a person that's maybe an investor in a company and ban that software they don't like, because that person lives or was born in Russia or China or whatever the country that they don't like this week is. And then they have complete control to, dictate this software industry, which has been free and open to this point. The thing that they should say, the government should say, Kaspersky is dangerous because, and then show us why. Show us where they're delivering malware to people's customers. And I can guarantee if they could prove that and show that, ain't nobody buying it. You can ban it that way, but they don't have that. What's happening? It's the same thing I said about TikTok. Like, tell me exactly what they were doing. What is the scenario? What could happen? And then most people will go, yeah, that's kind of bad. Like, I don't think think I'm uninstalling TikTok right now, but they don't do that. They just say it's bad because it's owned by Russia.
Security threat.
Yeah.
Well, they're just saying security threat, but you're right. They've been non-specific. Yeah, I mean, they're not specific in this one, right? They haven't told us exactly why it's a security threat. They just generically told us it's a security threat. I'm wondering if the actual security threat, just like I wonder if TikTok is the same deal, that it's so benign that we wouldn't even think of it as a security threat. The average person would just be like, well, duh, of course it does that. Because it's like, it collects all your data. Well, duh. Yeah. So does Instagram, so does Facebook, so does every other product I use on my phone. Oh, but it's going to a foreign country, therefore we should care about that. Well, nobody will. So therefore we wouldn't self-ban it. We wouldn't self-police, right? Because we don't care if TikTok if China's collecting all the information from TikTok. The average person does not care about that. As long as they can see their cat videos, that's all we care about.
But they need to do a better
Same
job
thing
of
with this.
educating the public and tell us what. That's why I don't know if there's actually anything, especially in Kaspersky.
I don't think there is. That's my point.
I think there's security
No.
researchers out there that would have known this a long time ago if this was a malware delivery
Yes.
platform, which it's hooked into
And it's
the
not.
OS.
I'm just
I get it.
saying-
It's a rootkit.
I'm saying
like,
the only issue
Yeah.
this thing has is that the data's going overseas. That is the security threat. There is no actual real security threat. It's just that the US doesn't have control of the data. That's the security threat. That's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing more than that. And if they made that public and just said that, the average person would just be like, well, I don't care.
All
Yeah.
right, whatever.
But at least with the
It's
FDA, if some lettuce comes out and you can get diphtheria, they tell us like, eat this lettuce, and then they effectively ban that product for 3 weeks until it's, it's
Yeah.
off the shelf.
If you bought it from this time to this
Yeah.
time, then you
that
might
yogurt
get
will
real
kill you.
sick.
I mean, like
Yeah.
they should tell us
Yeah.
they should be required to tell us what it is, other than that it has Russian ties.
I'm telling you,
Right.
that is the only
Yeah, I
issue.
know it is.
And that's why. That's why they don't
Yeah.
tell us, because we wouldn't
Yeah.
care. So therefore, they wouldn't be able to ban it. Because the average person would just be like, I don't care that the information's going there. I don't care. They can look at whatever's on my computer. There's nothing there. They don't care. And I guess, and that is a wrong thing too, because the average person doesn't understand the implications of that amount of data. So it's not that like overall we shouldn't care that TikTok is sending to China or that Kaspersky is sending to Russia. We should, but we don't see the negatives in that data collection part. Because we don't understand what that data could actually do. The implications of that data we don't understand. But the US government does understand it. And the reason they understand it is because they collect it and they know what is possible with it because they're doing things with it. Just like they know Russia would do things with it and
Right.
China would do things with it. They know. And they're not going to tell us that because guess what? It makes them look bad.
Yeah. I'm going to make a prediction.
Like, these guys are doing this, but don't look at
Yeah.
us doing
Yeah,
it.
don't
It's
look
fine.
at us.
It's fine.
I'm
Exactly
going to
that.
make a prediction
Exactly
here,
that.
regardless of who wins the presidency, Trump or Biden in the next one, that they're going to shut a company down, an American company, because of some tie. And it's not going to be legit in any way, shape, or form. And we're going to say,
Just
so now the
because,
government
yeah.
can just shut down whatever company they want because they don't like them. Yes. They'll find
Yeah.
a guy that said, well, his third grandmother was born in Russia. His third one? Yeah. Well, there was a split marriage and, it's like,
I could see that happening.
So,
I agree. I could see that happening.
and-
That's not super
and
far
the guy's like, come on, man. I was born in California. I mean, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, but you made a trip to Russia
did.
once and you made a phone call to this guy. Therefore, we don't trust
like
you.
You're banned.
You guys, they're going to shut down the Not Null podcast. We have ties to Paul.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. That's it. Oh, that's a problem.
Darn it.
That's it. So
Shoot.
we have to release Paul now. We got to do it. The government said.
Paul, sorry. That's why he's not here today.
Yeah, he's not here today. Yeah.
We've
the
banned
US
him.
government's had words with him, and he's just going to not show up anymore.
I want to talk about some fast food drama. So, McDonald's recent decision to end its AI-powered drive-through test.
Who'd have
That's
thought?
right. The Golden Arches tried to get AI to take orders, but it turns out these bots, excuse my dad joke, just don't have the special sauce.
Okay, that was bad.
For 2 years, they teamed up with IBM to make an AI drive-through, and their accuracy rate for orders was in the low 80s. It wasn't 95%; it was in the very low 80s.
That's not
No,
good,
it's not
right?
good at all.
just as a metric, they can't be like, "Oh wow, it was awesome. It was in the 80s." No, it was terrible. It was in the 80s. That means 20% of orders were
They're
wrong.
wrong. Okay.
I'm surprised it was that high,
Yeah.
actually.
On top of this, it became a comedy TikTok show. People are making money off TikTok memes of this thing ordering the one famous one's a couple. She ordered a cup of water and some ice cream, and she got the water, she got some ice cream, but she also got some ketchup packets added to it, which is weird. Like, why did I get this? And then there's the famous one that everyone's seen where someone got thousands of dollars worth of McNuggets added to their order. 210 orders of McNuggets. I would imagine if a human took that order and they were serious, they would have called the manager and he goes, dude, we don't have that many nuggets right now. So that
Right.
you have to do that as a special order tomorrow. Yeah.
Any human, no matter how stupid, would have questioned and been like, do you really mean 200 and something minutes? The AI is just like, okay.
You're really hungry.
Let's go. But McDonald's isn't alone. There's a lot of other companies doing this. Wendy's, Carl's Jr. be the other really famous ones that you've heard of around here. There's someone like Taco John's and some other places that are doing this. They're using a system called Presto. And Presto says that it'll save, get this, if you install the Presto system, it'll save you 1 FTE per year, and your orders could rise by 6% through constant upsells. And when I read this, I was like, did everyone ever remember George Carlin and his skit with McDonald's, where he ordered all this stuff? And the guy said, do you want an apple pie with that? And he goes, yeah, forget all that. Just give me 1 apple pie. And that's what the robot does. His constant upsell, and you're like, yeah, okay, I like, bro, slow your roll. I'm just trying to get dinner here. And so, despite these hiccups, they fired IBM. They're going to still look into AI. So here's my question: why did this flop? And should AI be able to do order taking? Shouldn't that be the base level of like a generative AI system? And do you have any challenges at drive-thrus to begin with? Do we really need a solution here? And even if we roll this out at every system, is this going to be a constant source of TikToks and memes?
Yeah, because it can only get 80% of the thing right. So the 20% is just a problem, right? The 20% wrong is bad. That's a high error rate for something that is seemingly simplistic. And you would think, I agree, you'd think an AI would probably do better at this. Here's the problem I have with the McDonald's one. The McDonald's one, I saw a bunch of TikToks on this. The McDonald's one, the problem with it is the implementation is bad. They've literally slapped a chatbot on the ordering system. Yeah. It's like they've taken the same menu and everything, and it's just like they've just slapped a chatbot on it. So what happens is people are there and they're trying to order stuff. And I saw some that was great because they're trying to order like a burger with like ketchup and like mustard only. And it like that threw it for a total loop. It's doing like ketchup and mustard on the side, and it's like making weird orders. And I saw somebody who was like, they ordered an ice cream, but it put bacon on it. Like, it literally ordered a side of bacon with ice cream. And she's like, no, I don't want that. And it's like, your total's going to be $587, drive around. It's like, she's like, I don't want that. So the implementation's terrible. I will say the Wendy's one is better because they've done they did something where they had, so it's an AI chatbot, but they also have like a visual side to it too, whereas you look at the screen and you would say, hey, I want to get a Frosty. And it would say, what size? And on the screen, it would show you the sizes. So it gave you like, almost like prompts.
Cues.
It prompted you back. Yeah. It prompted you back with information. So I think their success rate must be higher. The McDonald's one is just a free-for-all. You can literally go to the McDonald's one and ask it anything. Like, and it will say like, I can't do that or whatever. The Wendy's one I also saw was a little bit more intuitive. If you asked it like, hey, Wendy's bot, how you doing? It will say, I'm good, thanks. How are you? What can I help you with? And it'll always come back to what can I help you with? The McDonald's one was just like, what can I add to your order? No matter what you said to it.
Right.
What can
That's an upsell.
And even if you say,
that's that 6%. There's the 6%.
It just bugged you into upselling you something. It's like, all right, I guess I'll take whatever. I'll take some McNuggets.
So do you?
Fine, stop asking me.
So Sarah, do you have challenges in ordering at drive-thrus? Do you and your husband fight about that? Is that a point of contention?
No, I think if I'm going through a drive-thru, then I am like not with my husband. I'm like bringing something home or whatever. But to your first question, yeah, you would think that it would be better. Like the technology is somewhat there, and like 80%, that's bad. But from what we've seen from like Google and all this other stuff, like, okay, yeah, it gets it wrong a lot. So I can kind of see that, and maybe 80% is a little high for the accuracy rate. But like when I'm currently in a drive-thru, like most of the places I go will have like the kid standing like outside because like the line's so long, because like I really only go to like Chick-fil-A and In-N-Out on drive-thru. Like those are the only two drive-thrus I go to, and those lines are like ridiculously long. But I will say Chick-fil-A has like got it down to a science. I don't know if you've been through a Chick-fil-A drive-thru.
It's big in North Carolina.
That thing is efficient, right? And so I don't have any problems with ordering, but my favorite clip is from Wayne's World when he goes through the like donut shop drive-through and he's like, I'll have like, and he says it like that, and then the drive-through person's like, okay, so that's like 2 jelly donuts, whatever. And Wayne is like, yeah, that was right.
But even though that's a thing and that's kind of a joke, that is almost possible with a person. A human can do it, right? A human can handle the edge cases. The AI cannot handle the edge cases. I guarantee you, a chunk of those 20% that it got wrong were people that came through and didn't say, I want a number 2. They said, I want to get that burger, but I don't want that sauce. I want the other sauce on it. And can you put like just half of the pickles on it? I don't want a lot of pickles. I just want one. And then the AI just has no idea what to do with that. But the human can handle that.
So as the dad that drove through 2 kids and a wife through drive-thrus a lot, we eventually had to get to the point like, what do you want? It can only be one of the numbers. I'm not putting all these special requests in. We're not getting them right. I'm not driving around, going back inside. You can pull the pickles off, because we go to Wendy's, Kelly would say, I want a junior bacon cheeseburger, a small fry, and a small Coke. I'm like, but that's a junior bacon thing. She says, no, that's fries medium. I want a small one. I'm like, well, can we just get the number 2 and just don't eat all the fries?
Don't eat all the fries. Exactly. You don't have to finish the drink and eat all the fries. It's fine. I'll pay the extra 25 cents.
Because she's never going to get it. Like, the order's messed up. And I can imagine that where everything's a special case, which is what people do at drive-thrus. My joke is like, what is this guy doing in front of me? Is he getting a car loan? I mean, how long does it take to order?
I'm always stuck down the guy ordering. Yeah, he's ordering like, you see, and you drive up and you see the menu. It's like $200 and something. I was like, dude, go inside.
Yeah,
what are we doing?
Order for the entire soccer team in the drive-thru. So it'll never get those right. And what I'm surprised at, and I think people are figuring this out now, generative AI just isn't like what everyone thought it would be. You would think IBM, with all of their money, working with McDonald's, would have figured this out. Like, we've got to make this work. Instead, they get publicly fired, and so what do? You use the Presto system that Wendy's is using, or is OpenAI going to step up and Microsoft is working with Domino's now? So like, I don't know. Maybe we'll have them, but it doesn't seem like saving one person per year. How much does it cost to put these systems in?
Right.
Oh, it's got to be expensive.
You can't tell. I mean, I looked and I could not find.
Yeah.
I mean,
the other problem too is the background noise of a drive-through. Like, I mean, I've got like a court case going on the radio. Like, I'm
playing
the Not Null podcast, of course. And then like you've got maybe kids, and like you've got like, if it's like McDonald's where there's like 2 lines, because I read that in one of the articles, is like they ordered 9 sweet teas or whatever because it picked up audio from the lane next to him, and it's the speaker system, the microphones are not good enough to like really hone in on like your voice. And then this also doesn't solve the problem when like I'm in the drive-thru and I've like got my son in there and I'm just like, hey, you tell them what you want. I'm not going to like relay what you want, so then he's like talking over me into like, it's just not going to pick it up right.
And we've seen the couple that argue everywhere. In public all the time, and you've seen them in drive-thrus, or you're sitting behind them, you can hear them yelling at each other. I'm like, dude, just order the stuff. Like, what?
What would the AI make of that? You're right. Well, they're getting their order wrong, aren't they? That's what's happening.
Right.
It's just getting the order wrong.
And they're screaming at each other, and then they're screaming at the AI, and AI doesn't care. Anything else? Do you want apple pie?
It's always anything else.
Right?
Always. So I think the Presto system is better than obviously what McDonald's has. And I think if the McDonald's continue with this, I think they need to go to something like that, something more visual. But I also agree with you. I don't think it's a problem we even really need to solve. I think if you start looking at so if I go to McDonald's, which I don't go very often, but if I do, I use the app because it's just easy. I'll pre-order on the app. I'll get exactly what I want. It's right every single time. I drive up, I tell them, oh, my order code's Z77 or whatever. And my food's correct every single time I've used it. That's the way to do it.
That's the way Chick-fil-A is. Chick-fil-A has a great mobile app. You can order ahead of time. They usually have 2 lines. You don't have to you get in a special faster line. You just scan and you're at the front.
Yeah.
And then they have like, I don't know, it's kind of funny. Like you're coming through the drive-thru in Chick-fil-A And they're almost too good. You know, you're like, okay, I got 8 people in here. All right, guys, what do you want? There's like 3 people out there like rolling your window down for you. Like, what do you want? Let's go. We're on the clock here, people. It's Chick-fil-A. We got to get this done. You know?
Awesome.
So, but I don't know if it's a problem that needs to be solved. I don't know how expensive these systems got to be expensive.
Yeah.
So if they're saying they'll save you 1 FTE and a McDonald's worker in that's East Coast, what, $12 an hour, maybe? So
I think
does it cost less than $24,000? I doubt it.
Well, yeah, like you said, you can take out the FTE without even getting ChatGPT in. Like you've got the app like Chick-fil-A, you drive up, you scan your QR code, and then you keep going. You don't even have to have somebody there taking your order.
Right.
Like you've already done it on the app, and it's going to be exactly right because I put in exactly what I wanted, and I handed my phone to my son, and he put in his stuff, and I handed it to my daughter, and she put in her stuff. And then we just scan the code when we go through. Again, still eliminating an employee. I'm just scanning my code.
5 Guys here. I don't know if they have 5 Guys in Utah, but 5 Guys here is a burger place, and it's only mobile. Like I don't know if you've seen the one in Kernsville, Kevin. It's only there is no. You can't drive up and order. Like, and I thought that was weird at first, but then I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying. I can order from my desk at work, drive over there and go get it. You know?
Yep.
Go get it.
And even if you do pull up there, they have parking spots that you pull over into to order while you're sat there. You do the same thing. You order on the app, and then it messages you when it's ready, and you pull up to the drive-thru and pick it up.
Yeah.
Right.
Now
That's the way to do it.
System I did see that was kind of cool. It's called Pipe Dream, and you can pull this up if you want to. And Wendy's is also testing this. A Pipe Dream will create tunnels underneath the store, and when you drive up with your mobile order, it delivers them right there to you. A little train. And this isn't AI. It's not AI, but it'll deliver it to you. So, and then they're testing that they can do this over long distances or through an entire city. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's a pipe dream. But far as like ordering and having little pickup spots at the location could work. My thing is when I read this, like how clean will those be? Like, is it going to get gross after a while? They say it doesn't spill anything, but like whatever, you know.
I don't like. Does it?
Yeah.
Though?
So this is great for if you're a DoorDash driver, you know, and you're picking up at this place, you know, you can do it real quick. So this is kind of technology that might actually solve something, but again, a person can just bring it out to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That was going to be exactly my point. The guy in this picture, the guy could just walk out instead of having like, or maybe this thing is not even a thing. It's just a tunnel underneath as a guy walks up and just hands you your stuff. It's the same thing. What's the difference? I don't think this eliminates people even. I mean, this is one person at best.
How do you send drinks like that?
It's a little train. There's videos, so you can see it, and you know, and it keeps them warm.
Okay,
you know.
Okay, there's the
it's
little
got a
train
little Rector
guy.
set there.
It's cool.
You know, it's kind of cool.
But imagine what this costs.
It's got to be $1 million to dig a tunnel
Hundreds of
underneath the
thousands,
building.
for sure. Oh,
Yes.
Definitely. This is hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million implementation here, for sure.
For
And they're saying they're going to do this
Got to be a giant
throughout
facility to use this.
all of Austin, Texas. I'm like, you're not going to get the
Interesting.
permits to dig little train tunnels all
No.
throughout Austin.
Little train.
So is this? So I guess the interesting thing here though is like wider distribution, right? Versus just like going to the restaurant and parking right outside the door and having that's like wider distribution is a more interesting thing where maybe there's not a McDonald's like within 5 miles of me, but there's like these pickup things, and I go to one spot and I say, oh, I can order 5 different fast food restaurants right here at this one spot. So maybe somebody in the car wants Wendy's, somebody wants McDonald's, somebody wants whatever, and they can all come on these little trains to you. That's interesting.
It's a pipe dream.
Well, it's literally pipe dream.
Kind of on the nose with their naming there.
I think they know what they're doing.
On the nose.
I mean, maybe the last inch, maybe that'll work.
Okay, time of the week where we talk about our nulls and our not nulls, our recommendations for things that you might like, or our recommendations for things that we think you should avoid. So we've revamped this section a little bit. We're going to do, each week, we're going to do a null and a not null. So this week, Bobby has the privilege of giving us his null. What's your null for this week, Bobby?
So I'm apprehensive. I don't like insulting people's products. I'm one of those guys that don't leave negative reviews. So, but I am training for a 100-mile bike race. And so I've gotten these things and I sweat when I'm biking, especially when it's like 92 degrees outside. And so I'm using these Halo headbands, and I'm going to say plural because you'll see why in a second. And they say it channels sweat around your corner, which it kind of does until you've been riding for like 30 or 40 minutes if you're sweating like I am. And then it just covers your eyes in sweat. And so what I was trying to do on my last bike ride was I had multiples of them. And I had to stop, take my helmet off, put a new one on, wring this one out, put it on my handlebar to get some air dry going on. And it slowed me way down to where like this isn't useful for anything over an hour. It's like it works. Sort of. For
5 minutes.
Yeah. And then if you sweat a lot, it's not. So I'm looking for a solution. They have other products they say are better, but like, I'm going to a different product at this point. So
just cut up your geometry towel and like.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So you originally had this as a not null because it worked for you originally, but now
so as my training has progressed, I went to a 2-hour ride on Saturday and it's just like, this doesn't work at all. Like it's terrible. So I think I'm going to come up with either a skull cap solution or something called the gutter. We'll see how it works out.
Okay. So, the, not null this week is, Sarah's. So what do you have this week, Sarah?
So I have 3 siblings. I have 2 brothers and 1 sister. And we recently went to, Seattle to go to Olive Garden.
Hold on, you went to Seattle just to go to Olive Garden?
So the backstory, let me give you
3 breadsticks are that good, I guess.
Quick little backstory. Like my dad, who's older in age, we went up for his birthday because we're like, we haven't seen dad in a while. Like, and I'm talking about like years and stuff. We're like, we should probably get up there before he like passes away and we never see him again. So the siblings and I were like, we all flew out there because my brother's in California, my other brother's in Oregon, I'm here, and so we flew out there and beforehand, we're like, okay, Dad, we want to take you to dinner for your birthday. He's like, oh, I know this nice little Italian restaurant near my house.
I love that. It's the best way to introduce Olive Garden to somebody.
Like 2 weeks later,
owned.
My brother's like, oh, hey, Dad, I got to get the name of that restaurant, so that we know where we're going and everything. He's like, oh, yeah, it's called Olive Garden. my brother calls the rest of us up. He's like, do you want to know what your dad just said?
That's awesome.
So anyway, we go up to Seattle to go to Olive Garden, but we're hanging out just in the lobby, like as siblings, and my brother brings out this Monopoly deal game. And this was like the most fun game I've played in a really long time. And it has like the fun of Monopoly, but it takes like 15 minutes instead of like hours and hours of Monopoly fun. So we really enjoyed it. We seriously played it for like well into the night. And then in the morning we like got up and played it some more.
Okay.
Wow.
But yeah, then I bought one when I got home and I've been playing it with my family. So, as summer progresses, go outside and play some Monopoly deal. It's really fun.
Does it have the rage-inducing, like, flipping the table thing?
Yeah.
You always want to, when you play Monopoly, you just want to throw it all on the floor. Is it like that?
No,
or is
because
it
it's so quick. Like, because when you get to that point, it's like 3 hours into a Monopoly game and you've just like landed on Park Place. And then that's when you're like, forget this.
Exactly.
I'm not paying you.
Yeah.
I'm not paying the EU any money.
So it's really fun and it's super portable just because it's just a card game. But yeah, it's a really, really fun game.
I might totally get this. Yeah, I like these kind of card games that are like this, that are just like they're not too intrusive, are they? They're kind of easy rules to pick up, especially if you understand Monopoly already, right?
Yeah.
Easy rules to pick up. It's not like super taxing, and you can, like you say, you can take it with you. You can pack it, like if you go on a trip or something.
Yeah, super fun.
That's cool. As it says, play in 15 minutes. Like
exactly. Yeah. So like you can play multiple rounds, like because my brother brought it and he like knows like strategy and stuff, and he kicked our butts like for the first like 6 games. So
I do like how they have to explain that though too, because everybody knows like Monopoly. I haven't got like man, I gotta do something at like 10 o'clock. I don't have 5 hours. I love how that's like part of the marketing is like no, it's 15 minutes, we promise.
I swear.
It's easy.
Yeah. So fun.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast. If I can ask you to do a couple of things, if you could, let a friend know about the podcast. Force them to listen to it. Like, sit them down, put headphones on them, and like tie their hands up or something, and have them listen to the podcast. And when they're done, leave us a rating and a review somewhere. That would be great. And you can also send us an email. Where can they send that email to, Sarah?
The Not Null Podcast at AOL.com. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe.
Definitely. Oh, like and subscribe shout out. I love
Smash that sub button. Let's go.
We'll see everybody next week.
Golden arches shining bright, but there's something new tonight. No more voices cold and mechanical. We're bringing back the personal. Goodbye to the bots, the scripts they read. We're listening to your needs, guaranteed. McDonald's AI, we're changing the tune. McDonald's AI, we were too soon. No more AI, no more AI. McDonald's AI, we gave it a try. Learning faces, smiles in the air, conversations genuine everywhere. From burgers to fries, we're taking it slow, making memories as we go. Goodbye to the bots, the scripts they read. We're listening to your needs, guaranteed. McDonald's AI, we're changing the tune. McDonald's AI, we were too soon. No more AI, no more AI. McDonald's AI, we gave it a try. Meanwhile at Wendy's, we're sticking with the tech. Robots still taking orders, but what the heck? We're back to basics, heart to heart. A brand new era, a fresh start. McDonald's AI, we're changing the tune. McDonald's AI, we were too soon. No more AI, no more AI. McDonald's AI, we gave it a try. Golden arches, golden arches, golden arches, golden arches. Golden arches, golden arches, golden arches.